was born to be free.
Hey, back for another day on the boat, working on the engine instrument panel. I've taken the day off work. It's a bit windy. You can probably hear slapping halyards in the background against masts, but it's lovely on the boat. Toasty with my heater. So let's get cracking. So the first thing I want to show you is this, which is going to be the new key to arm the ignition. So that is going to arm a 12-volt circuit to here, which will energize anything that needs energizing here, such as this on the engine temperature monitor, and will then pass 12 volts and all the signals from all the sensors back to the engine panel that's going to be out there. So we have to think about where we want to put this, and I'm thinking down the bottom there, because the key fob will then hang down in this gap. So I think that would work quite well. So I'll get on with that. Nice. Let's offer it up straight away. Boom. How's that? Obviously I checked beforehand, no wires behind, plus it's all DC there. No AC. So that looks great. Okay, so that's my new ignition switch. I think that looks really good. This isn't screwed in properly, because now I'm going to go around the back and wire it in, fused, and wire up the power LED that sticks out here. And I put the new key on my floaty thing, and there's plenty of room, and so you'll just be able to go in like that. And don't forget, this will not be wobbling like that when it's screwed in. Go in like that, turn it on, and that will arm the engine instruments and ignition. And because I've got this blue mounting line that I just leave attached in here with a loop, it's very easy to then pull down a nice 1.5mm gauge conductor dual core cable. Just by pulling down here, and it just comes out nicely, and then I can feed it through into the engine bay and into the instruments. Okay, so the switch is now wired in. I can insert my key and turn it on, and the red LED comes on, and that is then wiring a power cable that comes up into this area here. Before I do anything else with my panel, there it is covered in bilge paint, I want to offer it up into that space and draw around it, because that's going to help guide me when I cut away some of this GRP. So to do that, it's time to take off this bit of perspex, and I want to unscrew that panel and see if I can feed it through the hole, just to make a flat surface that I can then offer my panel up against. So let's see how we get on with that. Because there's going to come a point pretty soon where I break the boat, where the old panel no longer works. The ignition, for example, doesn't start the motor, but my new panel isn't in. I'm obviously a little bit anxious about, trying to split this drop across a couple of wet, cold, dark weekends. Yeah, there's no flanges, good word, flange. So it's just going to be a bit tricky to get off, I think, because it's probably got some sealant on. actually that came out all right. I'm going to pass it through, back through the hole, I wonder. Yes. Okay. Take a look. That's what I've got. Some pretty clear, good clearance to those holes. So now, let's get you in close. You see that? So my new panel is going to go there like that. Now what I want to do is just mark the outside of it if I can. Now I'm going to drop it down a bit so I can mark the top edge. Like that. Put it in a bit to mark that edge. Put it back a bit to mark that edge. Right, that's looking pretty good. I think that's looking pretty damn good. Now it would also be helpful for me to mark where the tachometer is, because I've got to cut that out. These ones are all okay. Sweet. And so I need to actually, I'm going to remove around this dotted line. Well, you can probably still hear it's blowy today, still blowy. But anyway, I wanted to show you the panel. Now I've covered it in vinyl. There's the back side, some silicone glue just on a few things. Everything has gaskets. Let me just try and hold the front. So that's what she looks like. I think that looks quite pretty. Starter switch, a button for red light, voltage so I can tell if the alternator's working, fuel that will work when I put the sender in, which will be later on this year, oil pressure, water temperature, and a new tacho with an hours meter because I didn't have one. And I think that vinyl looks quite nice. It's external vinyl, the kind of things they put on the outside of shops and displays, so it lasts really well. And then the wood is marine ply, lacquered and then coated with bilge paint. So I think that will work, and we'll install that maybe in a week or so's time. So as we start the next phase of work, so here's the control box at the moment. I've got a 12 volt that comes on with the ignition key. I've got a ground, buzz bar, so they're wired in, and this is the chocolate block that's going to go off to the instrument panel, with various feeds from various sensors that I need to bring up. At the moment there's just one, which is the ignition that goes to this relay, and so if I put 12 volts on that point there, then I can hear this click closed. The higher power output that's going to go down to the starter motor doesn't have a wire connected yet. Temperature sensor is, I've left in the brains, but I need to attach the wire that's going to go back to the all the gauges there. The alternator's on temporarily, but I've actually bought a new sender for the oil, and you're going to go, why on earth have I done that? Because I found one that has both the sensor and a low power switch, which means I can rig up an alarm. I'm actually going to put a switch to enable disable that, because I won't always want that noisy alarm, but if I'm doing a lot of motoring I might, so I'll make that selectable. And also I've got some of these kind of lower gauge wires, which were fine while I was, for things like the alternator and the RPM and so on, pick up off the alternator, which was fine to test the meters, but I want to put in some decent wire now. So I'm taking off this one, made in India, nothing wrong with that of course. And I'm putting on this one, which definitely has a better labelling. It talks about the G output is 10 to 184 ohms, which definitely matches the meter that I've got. And the WK is the alarm at 0.8 bar. The crust, it says, or the shell, is battery negative, and it's MPT 1/8. And I've put on these nice silicone tinned copper wire, soldered and reinforced with heat shrink, which is how I like to do it. There you can see they'll be able to come up. And I've got the blue on the gauge and the white on the alarm. And so I've got the wires on now, because it looks like they'll twist, but actually I can stop them from twisting. I can untwist them at the end, and it's better to get them on now than fiddle around when the thing's actually screwed in. That's nice and tight. These can then come up like that. So let's just show you where you got to today. So we now have a new oil pressure sender. It has 2 terminals. It has blue for the gauge, it has white for the low pressure alarm. I put the alternator back in. I think I've got the right tension, it feels like it. But this is a new belt, so it might need tensioning again soon. Round the back, I don't know if you can see this, let me try and show you. Round the back I now have a green and a red cable. The red is the exciter. The green is the wave output for the tachometer. So they then come up just through a temporary bundle out the way of anything spinning. So the exciter is through a 25 watt 100 ohm resistor, completely overpowered. You only need 1 watt or less. In fact, it's about 0.2 of a watt, but I like this package because I can screw it down, and that goes to the 12 volt bus bar that's active when the ignition key is on. And the white lead from the oil pressure alarm comes into a buzzer, horrible thing, horrible noise, also to the 12 volt. So I'm going to crank it. What I'm hoping for is when I put the ignition on, you'll hear a horrible buzzing. That's horrible. So that's that. That buzzing should go off as the engine starts and the oil pressure comes up. That would be a nice test. And then to test the exciter, I can then come and I'm charging the battery at the moment, but if I turn the battery charger off, you'll see the volts going down on the battery. And I would like that to see that go back up to show that the exciter is working, because I've been using so far the exciter on the old ship, on the old boat loom. Now I'm providing the excitation through that resistor. That would be a nice little test. It's blowing up, so let's go and crank it. Right, with the stairs back over, the buzzing's not too bad now. You can hear that, and you can see the voltage down at 12.6. RPM, 13.9. We're charging, and the buzzer's gone off. That engine hasn't been started in a month. It took a bit of crank. 14 volts, so the excitation's working and the oil pressure alarm is working. And even at idle, while she's cold, 13.6 volts, and the oil pressure alarm isn't coming on. So I think we're in a good place. And when I turn the engine off, you can hear the oil pressure alarm again, until I turn the ignition off. That is a success. We're getting there. So that's all I'm going to get to do today, but I think that puts the job maybe just a day away from being completed. So we've now got the oil pressure alarm wired in. These 3 wires then are the wave signal for the tachometer, the oil pressure sender, and that is the ignition coming the other way that goes through the solenoid. So the next step is to wire up this to the starter motor, but I'll start next week's jobs with that one. All in all, a good day. I hope you're following along. Sorry it's taking so long, but I reckon we're within reach of finishing it now.